everyone. So today we are filming episode 5 of the Divorce Magazine Expert Interviews, and today we're actually going to be speaking to the founder of the Divorce Magazine, Soila. So Soila, do you want to introduce yourself and say a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Soila. I am the founder of the Divorce Magazine. I've been, because now it's not just me anymore, have been working and running the Divorce Magazine for quite a few years now. And what it is, it's actually what we would call a bridge between the divorce professionals and their clients that they're looking for. So we offer, we get contributions from divorce professionals only and no bloggers. And that they give us contributions of articles on all kinds of issues to do with divorce and separation. And then our readers are very much clients or people who are looking for assistance or help, support, and guidance from divorce professionals. So we are kind of like a bridge, an online magazine that's bridging between the divorce professionals and the clients, or those who are going through divorce and separation. So that's one part of me. The other part of me, the hat that I'll be wearing today, is a doctor in counseling psychology. And I've been working with children and families. Goodness, I don't know how long actually, maybe I do and I don't want to say, but anyway, I've been working with children and families for, let's say, over a decade or so. But now it seems like my work has become very, very focused on working with divorce and what comes through with divorce, whether it's the parents, whether it's the families, the dads, the moms, whoever is embroiled in this world of divorce, which can be quite difficult and confusing.
Perfect, thank you. So today we're going to be talking about sort of like what helps children cope with divorce and stuff. So it'd be really interesting to hear what you have to say about it. So my first question is, what actually helps children cope with divorce?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I would say is just for parents to realize that the moment that we tell our children that we're going to divorce, or that they're going to divorce and separate, or they're going to live in different households, not to assume that the children saw it coming, even where there has been a lot of acrimony and there has been violence, not to just assume that the children know this has been coming, to actually treat it like it's news to the children and to take it from there, because that moment can be a watershed moment for the children. And then the other thing that can help them cope with the divorce is to be able to answer their questions as much as possible. When am I going to see my dad? When am I going to see my mom? Where am I going to be living? Where are you going to be living? Just answer their questions as they come. Because one psychologist that I love dearly, he's no longer with us, but his name is Haim Gino, and he wrote a book on between parent and child. And one of the things he says in that book is children don't ask a question to which they have an answer. So when you're going through divorce and your child asks questions and you think, well, they should know the answer to that, actually they don't. It's a whole new world that they're trying to maneuver now. Mommy and daddy are no longer in the same house. What does that mean? Whichever parent has moved out of the house, whether it's mom or dad, and they've moved out of the house, let the children know where you are, if they can come and see where you are. And sometimes it's really difficult, and it can be in a bedsit that one parent has moved to go and live in a bedsit because of financial reasons. It's okay. Let your child come and see where you are, so that they don't have this whole questions in their mind. Where is daddy? Where is mommy? Where are they living? Are they safe? Are they okay? Because they will ask those questions. So it's very much about helping them cope, answering the questions, providing them with the other thing that I would say to help them really, really cope. If their lives can remain as it was before the divorce as much as possible, a lot of the times it's not possible. But if it cannot remain there, meaning that they go to the same school, they have the same friends, they still remain in contact with mommy's family, with daddy's family, they still see the grandparents, if that can still remain the same for them, then that would be absolutely great for them. If it cannot, then you have to be aware of how those changes are going to affect them, because their world now has changed, and it will change even more if suddenly they can't see the people that they have been seeing. So security, stability, predictability, if they can have that post-divorce, then that would be really helpful for them. It can help them cope a lot. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you would say is like a telltale sign if they're not coping with divorce?
Yeah. Yeah, and this can also be dependent on age. So let's say through the childhood lifespan, if I can call it that, some of the common or usual observations that you can make if your child has not been able to cope or is not coping with divorce is they can maybe withdraw and just become really silent. And this is something that you can even see with really young children, even toddlers, where they just become really quiet. Sometimes people say, oh, then he's just a baby. He doesn't understand that mommy doesn't live with us anymore, or daddy doesn't live with us anymore. But if you look at that baby, the baby is aware that there's a vacuum in the house that has been created. There's somebody I'm not seeing or hearing regularly. So do they become withdrawn, or do they have mood swings? Do they go from being really quiet and then they just go, they're really quick to anger, which is usually one of the biggest signs that they're not coping? Are they, really quick to anger? Are they just being fussy, whingy, whiny? What's going on for them? So it's something to look for, to look not forward to, but to look out for. And then the other thing that can tell you if they're not coping is if their sleeping habits have changed, if they're either sleeping too much or too little, if they're eating too much or too little, whatever changes that you can see in terms of what, how you would know. And for some children, and this can happen even with children who are like 10, so it's not just toddlers, they can become very clingy. So they want to know where everybody is. If dad gets up to go to the kitchen to get a coffee, dad, where are you going? When, and just, I need to know where everybody is, which can also, it can be so frustrating for parents. I'm just going to have a shower. Can I have that? And it's like, yeah. And you might open the door and you might find them seated outside waiting for you. So they might actually be quite clingy. I think also with little ones, maybe, let me think, and I'm not putting this in stone, but maybe children who are even up to 7, 8, you might see some signs of regression, meaning they start doing things that they used to do when they were little. Maybe the foods that they wanted to eat when they were little, if they only wanted to eat pasta with cheese, for instance, and they haven't done that for 3 years, and now it's just pasta and cheese, it's kind of like their comfort food. Have they regressed in one way or the other? Some children will stop being able to do things for themselves. It's like, help me put on my jumper. And you've been doing that for the last 6 months, but now it's like, I don't know how to put on my jumper. So any signs of regression? I think, there are loads of other ones. I can't think of all of them are not coming right now, but yeah, those are some of the signs that can tell you when your child is not coping with the divorce or the new home situation.
And what would you say are the effects of divorce on children? What are like the top ones that you can think of?
The top ones that I can think of are, let's say, with school-age children, it can be concentration, lack of focus. They're not able to focus anymore in school, in class. They're wondering who's picking me up, who's dropping me off, what's that going to be like? So the school environment can be affected. With older children who are probably sitting for assessments and so forth, or have homework, you might see falling grades. Sometimes I've had parents who say, oh, no, the school is fine, they're happy, their grades are good, they've kept up with their grades, and that's great. So that environment has not been affected, probably because they're still in the same school. It's still the au pair or the nanny or the mom or the grandparent or the dad who's picking them up. So that side hasn't changed, which is great. And then the other thing that I can think of is the effects of divorce on children. So you have the school, you have the fears that they might have. You might have their view of the world, with the older children, for instance, the world is broken, so don't tell me what to do. So they might become more belligerent with whatever it is, and not just with the parent, but also with other people in their lives. So that's some of them.
And what advice would you give to parents who are kind of like seeing a change in their child's behavior? How can they manage that?
I would say with that, if you see there's a change in your child's behavior, name it, talk to them about it, bring it up. don't, it's almost like, I remember attending this training, and one thing, you know, three words, I guess it is, that I came away with. It's like connection before correction. So if you see your child's behavior is changing, then meet them where they are, because their world has changed, not out of choice, but meet them where they are. Name it, say it. You know, I've noticed that for the past week, or for the past 2 weeks, or the past 6 months, or whatever you want, you know, however long it's been, you've been kind of quiet, you know, and I'm just wondering, you know, how I can help. And I'm thinking maybe it's because of the divorce, your dad and I, your mom and I, you know, we've been through, I don't know, you know, it's just something that I've noticed is going on with you. So just reflecting back, and we'll talk about reflexivity again, I'm sure. But yeah, as soon as you see any changes in behavior, name it, let them know that you've seen them, reflect it back to them, and please let school know what's going on at home. You know, don't tell the children, don't tell school, you know, don't take our business to school, not at all, because what you're asking them is to leave this house that's already probably bringing them a lot of anxieties and insecurities and so forth. Stay with it from 9 to 3:30 or 6 if they're staying for after school club, and then come home with it. Quite a big ask for children. So please let school know what's going on, so that they have somebody in school who's looking after them. They need looking after, nurturing as much as possible. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've answered your question, Amy.
Yeah, no, that was really good, really, really
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Okay.
And then, so kind of following on from that, when the parents do speak to the children and tell them that they are getting a divorce or they are separating, how much should they actually tell the child about the divorce?
Okay. Yeah, this is a question that I really get a lot. How much do I tell my child? I always think age appropriateness, right? First of all, don't speak disparagingly or denigrate the other parent. And I know maybe I'll get a bit of backlash from this, no matter what they've done. If mom has gone off and had an affair, and this is what's breaking the family up, the child doesn't really need to know everything about that. You know, they don't need to know, oh, she went and had an affair with your PE teacher. I don't know. You know, it doesn't need to be said. It can just be something has changed, depending on what age the child is. Older children might have an idea already that mom or dad is having an affair, or, you know, dad is going off, or mom is drinking too much. They might know that there's something already amiss. How much do you tell them? You tell them what they need to know. So we're not living together anymore. We're going to separate. Answer all their questions again, but don't tell them how bad or how horrible the other parent has been and how they've mistreated you throughout the whole marriage and everything. Because as soon as you start doing that, and you start, and I'll use the word, vomiting everything on top of your child, they have no way of cleaning up. They don't have the power to process, and they don't know where to put this, you know. And I will say that even with older children, teenagers, let them find out that actually mom has always been really mean to dad, and now I can see it. Let them find out for themselves. Or, you know, dad has been always mean to dad, and this is how, you know, this is why they don't get on. They'll find out for themselves. Your job at that moment is to actually continue nurturing them, looking after them, answering their questions in a way that you're not putting adult matters on them. They don't need to know about the court case that's happening next week, and how Kafka said this, and how the report from the contact center said that mom is not doing. They don't need to know all of that. All they need to know is, where are my parents? Am I okay? Will this be okay?
Yeah. Perfect. And what would you say is the best co-parenting plan or child arrangement? Because I know you've spoken with Beth about, you know, bird nesting and co-parenting. So I'd like to know, what do you think is the best arrangement?
Yeah. The answer to that I would come up with is when it's completely child-focused. It's child-focused, child-centered. That's the best co-parenting plan. A lot of the times when I've worked with parents, I've had parents who will come, and the child arrangement that they're coming with is completely focused on the parents. I want to see my child. I want to see my son. I want to see my daughter. And so, which means that they're little tiny children who move between homes midweek. And when, or if they're away from the other parent doesn't want them to get in touch with them because it's my time with my child. When it's child-centered and child-focused, how can I make their world better? Then you get a really good co-parenting plan. And it's hard sometimes, especially when you don't get on with the other parent. It's really hard. It's like, no, I really don't want to see her today. It's Thursday. She's coming to, put on your big girl's blouse, pants, whatever, and do what you need to do to make sure that your child says, bye, mom, bye, dad, I'll see you later, as opposed to going, dad, can we go now? Can we go now? Can we go now? Or having your 7-year-old say, it's okay, dad, I'll go and meet mom at the gate myself, all of that, because they don't want the animosity. So the co-parenting plan is when it's very, very focused, and I will say as structured as possible, because children need to know, who am I with, when, what time, how am I getting there? Then you're giving them stability and security in their lives. With bad nesting, which is, for those who don't know, we have actually a video on the Divorce Magazine about bad nesting, and another article about bad nesting, but it's where the children remain in the house and then the parents move out. So, and then they alternate. So this day, daddy comes to the house and looks after the children for a week, let's say. And then the next week, mom or other dad comes to the house and looks after the children for that week. And so they stay in the house. And I like that, I have to say. I like that, because if I keep talking about predictability and stability for the children and consistency, that's a really good way of there being consistency and predictability. So they don't forget, I forgot my homework books at dad's house, I forgot this at mom's house, and so forth. So there isn't any of that. I think in that interview with Beth, I actually mentioned having spoken with an adult child of divorce recently, when I knew I was going to interview Beth. And I asked her, would that have worked for her? Can she imagine that being for her? And she said, I don't know, because it means that I'm left in the house where everything broke down, and then you get to leave. Yeah. Right? Maybe I want to leave. Maybe I want a change from one home to the other. So there's that to also keep in mind. And the other thing with bad nesting, it's not for everybody, because where there's, like Beth was saying, where there's substance abuse, where there's domestic abuse, where there's psychological, emotional, where there's, it's really, really not conducive for the other parent, then maybe bad nesting is not the way. Maybe the other parent who's going through whatever form of abuse, or if the parent with a substance abuse is there, maybe not sharing a home, in that way, and having a break could be better for that parent, but then it reflects back to the children. Yeah.
And how would you say parents can encourage their children to express their feelings and concerns when going through the whole divorce process?
I love this question. Why do I like it? Because it talks of reflexivity, and reflexivity is when you reflect back to the child what's going on. So, like, if you think of the child's mind like a black box, we don't know really what's going on in there. So we are trying to find out, and whatever is in the child's mind is showing in their behavior, just like whatever is in our mind comes out in our behavior. Mm-hmm. So with a child, when you keep reflecting back to them, seeing daddy leave, seems like it made you sad, or it seems like this new setup is frustrating you, you're encouraging them to acknowledge their own feelings, for one, and saying to them, you know what you're feeling is actually right, it's valid, it's spot on. as opposed to not mentioning it or dismissing it and saying, oh, I know your dad's just left, but you're not going to play up with me. You know, that's it. Go to the bath, have your bath, like I said. And they just like, you know, I just want to see my dad. I just want to see my mom, you know, that kind of thing. So reflecting back and telling them, I can see you, I hear you, I see what is going on. When you reflect back to them, then also what you're saying to them is that this is what we need to do. We need to acknowledge, we need to talk about our feelings. And it's okay sometimes to actually say, you know what, I feel sad that the marriage has broken down as well. You know, I feel sad about it. And I struggle sometimes, you know, with this or with that, but just encouraging them to talk about their feelings. But it means that as parents, we need to be very vigilant about what is going on in this child and reflecting it back to them. And then they learn, so this is how I'm feeling, and it's okay. I get it. I'm not saying they won't play up, you know, they will, but at least their feelings have been acknowledged. And it's okay. They might say, I'm really angry with you. I hate you so much. And when they say that, it's because they're really, really angry. That's their way to show that they're really angry. So just saying to them, yeah, I know you say you hate me. And I think what you're telling me is that you're really, really angry with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that, because it's really like validating to the child and making
them,
I like that.
And validating is the word, actually. It's validating their feelings.
Absolutely. So what's the most important piece of advice for parents who want to ensure their children thrive during but also after the divorce as well? It's a tricky question, but
it's a very tricky question, and it's kind of like a big question. And I'm thinking the most important advice, and this is so hard because divorce brings out the worst in us. You know, you can do things during the divorce process that if anyone had told you you were going to do that, you'd be like, absolutely not, that's not me, right? And then you go through divorce and you're like all guns blazing and you're annoyed. But I think the most important advice that I would give to parents is, please don't denigrate or disparage the other child's, the child's other parent to the child or within earshot of the child. Don't talk about what a lousy dad or piece of whatever mom can be, and she's at this and he's at that. Don't do that when the child is there or when they can hear it. Don't argue with the other parent over the phone and say, you always come late. I can't believe it. No. Don't create an environment that is causing anxiety to your child. Be the adult in the room. Take that anxiety and take it somewhere else, but don't give it to the child. Don't think the child needs to know what kind of a dad he is or what kind of a mom she is. He doesn't, or she doesn't, or they don't. What they need to know is, my world is going to be okay. And we are the ones who are going to have to do that. So take your anxieties, anger, and put them somewhere else. Don't put them on the child. And if ever you do say something that is not nice about the other parent to the child, apologize. And even if it's the next day, you just said, you know what, I've been thinking, I shouldn't have said that about your dad, because he is your dad. I shouldn't have said that. How, even if you're thinking I said it because I really mean it, you're looking after your child. And that's what matters most.
Amazing. Well, that's all the questions I have today, but thank you so much. Really,
thank you, Amy.
Insightful. And
thank you.
Hopefully these resonate with some people and it helps them kind of navigate the whole process through divorce and separation.
Yes, and just as a parting, note, like I said to you one time, divorce will always be a watershed moment for the children, but what happens after that can be the biggest, I would say probably the primary trauma in their lives. What happens after that? Mom and dad splitting up, one thing. How it's managed, that's the most important thing from then on. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.